In the Ultraman franchise, there have been a number of villains throughout the Ultra series, from invaders to monsters and even masterminds. There even was a point where even the Ultramans are the main villains, example Belial, and our topic for today, Tregear. Tregear was an Ultra who always has doubts on his own race of Giants of Light and their philosophies of justice, claiming that light and darkness are one of the same. Hi everyone, I'm Fos-kun, and today, let's debate whether Tregear was right or wrong with his philosophy. Let's cut to the chase. Tregear is one of those characters who likes to view things from multiple perspectives, and doesn't like how his race views that light is the absolute rule of justice. He thinks like this due to the two of his kind have fallen to darkness, Belial and Akari, with the latter being his breaking point. He also dislikes that the feature of bonds are necessary to his race, and he doesn't like that bonds are important and would be enraged to anyone who said that word. However, when you think about it, what Tregear said is a little bit right, to a degree, saying light and dark are one of the same. Most people view darkness as evil, tyrannical, cruel, and must be destroyed at all costs, for they can't be redeemed. However, in the Ultra series, the light has shown to be the same as well, evil and cruel. A prime example is Belial's early style from Ultra Galaxy Fight. Even before receiving his dark form, Belial was shown mercilessly killing two aliens, even though they have surrendered, wanting to lead his race, which sounds tyrannical, and went on to be cruel to Ken for being called the Father of Ultra, being the Supreme Commander for the Ultra Garrison. Now, it may seem, Belial is a little bit on the evil side and insane. Before I forget, he also was mad at Ken because he didn't get the Mother of Ultra, aka Ultra Woman Mary. Now, debate that on your own topic, leave in the comments what you think about that one, and let me just continue with what I have. Now, there was also that moment where the Ultraman subreddit keeps saying, why can't Ultraman just help the Baltans find another planet to live on aside from Earth? Now, to expand on this topic, and for those who don't know, in Ultraman episode 2, if I'm not mistaken, correct Kenji, please correct me. In episode 2, the Baltans wanted to find a new home planet for their species, and their approach was a bit rough, but in context, Ultraman could have helped them and they could have done this peacefully. Well, I guess the Baltans just didn't hire the most rational negotiator for their representative of their kind, but that's a topic for another day. Now, back to the topic. If you think I'm being unreasonable for Tregear's philosophy here, well, there's more. Planet Vardok was on the verge of dying, and Ultraman Jack just destroyed it, just like how Ultraman destroyed the whole race of Baltans back in his early days. And if you think I'm a bit stretching, let me show you this image right here. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is the Father of Ultra destroying a planet with the Ultra Key. Or, if you think I'm not being reasonable, well, what about that time Ultra 7 used a jeep to run over Leo, who, I have to remind you, is an orphan. Granted, well, it was training, but he's trying to run over an orphan who had his planet blew up and only having his little brother as the only survivor. That's cruel, isn't it? Now, these somewhat prove that Tregear has the right to feel insecure about his own race, that claims the light is absolute good and justice. You might be thinking, Fos, if the light is cruel and evil, then what proves darkness can be the opposite? Well, I have a perfect example in the form of Juggler's Juggler. Now, for those of you who don't know or haven't watched Ultraman Orb or the Origin Saga, I'll just keep it short. Juggler was a warrior who got rejected by the light of Orb, and since then became a warrior of darkness. While in Orb, in the series, he was the main antagonist. But towards the end and beyond, he fought for justice using his power of darkness. Sure, he can shift from villainy and ally from time to time, but in the end, he helps those who are in need and those who are in danger. proving that darkness can be used for justice. And of course, our latest example, Ignis from Ultraman Tregear. Now, before he received the power of darkness, Tregear was just an ordinary space pirate, an alien, a Lishurian. But when he received the power of darkness, he had one goal: to defeat Hudram, who killed his race, seeking out vengeance, and in the end, helping Manaka Kengo, Ultraman Tregear, to fight for justice, proving that the power of darkness can be used to fight for good. But in the end, I did say the philosophy was good but flawed. His ideology was actually good, but it was flawed. So what makes this the difference? What makes the other villains that I said who used the darkness power to fight for good, and why did Tregear fail on his own philosophy? Well, allow me to elaborate. Well, it isn't just darkness and light that is the issue with Tregear's own philosophy here, more on Tregear's own actions when he gains this power, and more importantly, the reason why darkness is viewed as evil by his people is morality. Now, have you noticed that in the M78 universe, not a lot of warriors there use the power of darkness for justice, but in the alternate universes, just like Orb and Tregear, these powers have been used for good. Now, let me explain. Morality is important, and morality has to come with choice. If you choose to be moral, you will find a good way despite what power you're using. You can have darkness as your power, and it will be fine if your morality and choice is for the good. You will get respected, you will be loved, you will be viewed differently than the others. You can have light as your power, and you can use it for evil if that is your choice. If you decide that your morality isn't as good as you think it is. Light and dark are just attributes. What you do with them is what defines you. Should Tregear have used the power of Grimdo and used it for good, he could contradict his people's beliefs that darkness is always evil. He could have made light and dark coexist, like how Tregear Truth was. Tregear Truth was the proof that light and dark can coexist. If Tregear did this when he gained the power of Grimdo, he would prove that his people was wrong towards darkness. However, because he used the power of Grimdo for scheming and evil and just initiate pure chaos, he just solidified the truth that his race was right. Darkness is pure evil. And of course, he used the power to manipulate, which is obviously a very bad idea when you think about it. Now, before I end this video, I would like to show a few comments because I have asked this same question on Reddit, and I'm not gonna show all of them. I'm just selecting a few that actually sound really interesting, and if you want to see more of these comments, you can click on the link in the description and you can read those comments at your own leisure. But for now, I will show you the ones that I have handpicked myself, and Kenji will put them on the screen for your own reading time. User Purple Paradox said, "Well, he's wrong. If there's no good and evil, that means no morality. And no morality means we can do anything illegally and mess up things without any consequences." User Christopher Jian said, "I agree and disagree. Darkness is necessary for light to exist. Without darkness, the concept of light doesn't exist. However, good and evil does matter. I can be good but use the powers of darkness and vice versa. For example, many Fusion Ultras use the power of Belial to strengthen themselves in the name of justice. Ignis also uses the power of darkness for good. Kengo uses both light and darkness to defeat evil." User Marty Mart Mad said, "He does make a good point, in which good or evil can always change, depending on what your point of view. It happened multiple times throughout the franchise. But he is also wrong by ironically proving that darkness equals evil with his own actions. Funnily enough, Juggler's Juggler, who preceded him, embodied this philosophy better than Tregear himself. It was already apparent where they were going with his character after Origin Saga." User None Shall Know said, "He definitely has a point. but I still think some things are inherently good. But Tregear definitely isn't crazy or wrong for having this philosophy. Makes sense when technically nothing really factually backs up what we're doing as right or wrong. It's all about how it makes us feel. And I am very feelings based person, so I definitely fall into the strong idea of a good thing and a bad thing. But Tregear still has a point. User Kashkara said, I agree with Tregear. It's kinda like a psychological logic. Both parties, Tregear and Taro, have different opinions between light and dark. To me, it's like I can't see the back of my head while my friend can see mine. In this case, I feel like their opinions are justified by their experience and actions. Tregear has been through shit, while Taro prevailed most of the time throughout his endeavors. Hope this explains enough. And lastly, user 218, this username said, Tregear, were you even looking at space when you said that? Again, if you want to see more of these comments, go to the link in the description and click on that link, see the comments for yourself. So, in the end, what do I think about Tregear's philosophy? And was Tregear right? Well, the short answer is he was right, but what he did was wrong. Let me explain. While light reflects good, it doesn't really mean that it's the absolute justice. And while darkness is often piled with evil, it doesn't mean all of those who are in darkness are all bad people. Now, Tregear had a correct philosophy, but his actions solidified what his race thought about the darkness powers. Just like how we want gender equality, Tregear had a good idea and wanted equality between light and dark. If he found another way to prove his point to everyone aside from scheming and doing cruel things, I think it would have worked out good for him. And if his philosophy were to excel and gained a lot of realization with his race, it could have added to what the father of Ultra had said, where there is light, there is darkness, and when there is darkness, there is light. Should Tregear have proven that darkness can be used for good with his race, then of course everyone would agree, and it would change the entirety of the M78 timeline. But due to his own craziness, to his own wickedness, to his own self-pleasure, Tregear made his philosophy meaningless and solidified his race that darkness is in fact evil. So, what do you guys think? Were my points agreeable? Was Tregear right in your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. And before you go, be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Reddit if you like to. Click on that bell for more notifications on this YouTube channel, of course, if you want more content. And if you have any fan art, submit it to my Twitter, of course, with the hashtag FoskunArts. And as always, I'll see you all soon, take care, and of course, I'll see you in the next video.